In today's video, I want to find out with you just how good my Tesla Model Y performance still is after 3 years and almost 40,000 kilometers. Meaning, what's the highway range like in these wintry temperatures? It's late December today, and we've had the first snowfall here in our region. So I'm interested, how good is the battery still in wintry temperatures? Do you already notice significant range losses? But we're not just going to do a practical test today. Instead, I have plenty of statistics for you from my Tronity app, which has been connected to the car from the very beginning. I can show you exactly how good the battery still is. Tronity, what the degradation is, and what Tronity says the actual range of this vehicle still is. If you're interested in the video, stay tuned. We'll start after the intro. So, here we go. We're driving from Firth to Schweinfurt via the A73. It's about 109 kilometers in total. The highway should be quite passable for the most part, hopefully, except for relatively frequent construction sites. Today is the 30th of December, so it's vacation time. So we should be able to get through relatively well, I hope. It's 1 degree outside. Last night it snowed for the first time here in Firth. At least real snow this time, which also stuck around a bit. So beautiful wintry conditions. To test the range here of my Tesla Model Y Performance 2022 model year, December 2022, so 3 years old. I just cleared trip A. The battery's at 79%, 36,300 kilometers. I've driven with the Tesla so far in almost exactly 3 years. I actually had my first inspection 2 weeks ago. Yeah, passed, you wouldn't believe it. Here, there's always so much bad press about Tesla and inspections and so on. No, it was nothing, not even any minor complaints. And I drive the Tesla with an average consumption of 16.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers over the year. In winter, the consumption is naturally much higher. I've also zeroed out trip A here, and since the last charge I've now driven 3.7 kilometers. It's about 110 kilometers in one direction. So in total, it'll be around 220 kilometers today. Most of it on the highway though. So I'll be on the highway here in 2 minutes. 73, you can drive relatively well there. It's relatively clear. The highway. I've set the car to 19.5 degrees here. The seat and steering wheel heating is on automatic, and is still heating slightly, but will be regulated down over time or turned off by me, because I don't actually like it too warm permanently under my back and buttocks. And yeah, the steering wheel is okay if it's slightly warm for me. So, we currently have an average consumption of 20 kilowatt hours, and we'll just see what the consumption is at the end. Topography balanced, meaning we'll be driving back the same way. And that way the topography and elevation changes are balanced out, and hopefully the wind conditions too. Then we can calculate a nice average and see what the car really consumes at 1 degree outside temperature. Actually consumes. It'll probably be on the way back. Yeah, right now it's 8:30, it'll probably be around 12 noon on the way back when I set off. And maybe 2 degrees warmer then. We'll see about that. You'll definitely see it later anyway. But it shouldn't make much of a difference anyway. According to the Tesla nav, I'll arrive with 47% battery. So yeah, a bit more than half should still be in the battery. And when I get home, probably something around 10 to 15%. At least that's my guess for now. I have a lot of interesting data from the Tronity app for you, which I've been collecting since almost the beginning. I'll tell you all about that in just a moment. But first, just a few small notes. Today is December 30th, but you'll probably see this video sometime in January. I guess it always depends a bit on how the other videos in the pipeline are, because I always pre-produce quite a few videos. It's usually 6 to 10 pre-produced videos, just so you regularly see at least twice a week. New videos here on the channel, regardless of whether I'm sick or on vacation or whatever. And occasionally there are current videos that need to be published immediately, which I often squeeze in, pushing other videos back. But I thought I'd offer it to people who want to see the videos earlier that they can get a membership. So you can just check below under Join to see. There you can see what benefits it has for you. Among other things, you'll have a star next to your name in the respective color. Depending on how long you've been a member of the channel, you can use certain emojis with my face on them when you comment or something. And above all, and this is the biggest value I think, you can see the videos that are already uploaded immediately. often at least a month before the videos are actually published. And it's often been the case that when I announce videos, the comments often ask, when is the video you announced coming out? Oops, I almost hit a bird here on the highway. When is the video you announced coming out? And I thought, okay, I'll do it like this. Whoever wants to can see the video immediately. And I still have my peace of mind when I'm sick or on vacation, so I don't have the pressure to regularly publish or upload new videos. And you can see the videos much earlier than the general public. Important though, there won't be videos that only members see, but you will all see the videos. Always, just as it has been for the last few years. Only as a member you can do it earlier. Membership is also cancelable monthly and you'd support the channel. I'd be very grateful, and at this point I also thank you very much. For over 25,000 subscribers. So the 25,000 mark was broken just a few days ago. And I'm really very grateful and proud of that. And I also want to thank the first members. There have already been a few people who have purchased a membership here. Thank you so much for the support. Enjoy the videos that you'll get to see before everyone else. Now, let's get to the vehicle data, which is probably what interests you most in this video. As I said, I've driven the car for 36,300 kilometers now. It's 3 years old. I registered it in December 3 years ago. It's been a bit longer than 3 years since the car was registered. And I've had the car since kilometer 6,000, connected to the Tronity app, or since kilometer 5,000. The advantage is that I know exactly how my battery's doing, how good it still is, and what the remaining range of the car is. And I can always see, compared to other Tesla drivers who also use Tronity, exactly whether I'm doing better or worse. And I also see what percentage of AC and DC I'm charging, and so on. And I'd like to share that data with you right now. I'll just show you the log that I can create here on Tronity. You can see I have the 78 battery, 75 net capacity in kilowatt hours. Since connecting to Tronity, I've driven 31,600 kilometers, almost 2,800 trips, and charged it nearly 300 times. I've charged over 6,000 kilowatt hours into the car, 78% AC and 22% DC. So I charge about 4/5 at my home wall box or at work, and 22% on the road, mostly at Tesla superchargers, of course. So the battery has been treated relatively gently. I also try not to charge it to 100% too often, only before long trips. We have a PV system on our roof with 10 kilowatt peak, as most of you on the channel know. And because of that, we can charge the car for about 8 months of the year completely. I won't say for free, but very cheaply. I'll get back to that in a moment, and that's why we mostly charge at our home wall box. According to the log, you can see that I have a battery degradation of 4.3%, meaning the battery still has almost 96% of its capacity. So it's still doing quite well, I would say. But those nearly 4% also mean a bit of range loss compared to when it was new. Tronity has documented that the battery still has 463 kilometers of range. Other Tesla drivers with the same model have 458, so 5 kilometers less than me. It's probably because I treat the battery gently, don't drive at very high speeds on the highway too often, and especially don't charge with DC at fast charges too often. But there are also many Tesla drivers now who can show very good battery health after many years, even though they've charged with DC a lot. So whether that's the only reason, who knows. But overall, I think it's important to treat the battery gently, not drive it too hot too often, and not charge it too often, and so on and so forth. Tesla says that I drove the car with almost 16.9 kilowatt hours, so really over the entire 31, almost 32,000 kilometers. Trinity, on the other hand, calculated 18.7. But that's mainly because Tesla also makes the consumption look a bit better than it is. There are already many reports that it's not always 100% accurate. Trinity's a bit more precise there. They also include the charging losses and so on. And also the losses you have from other consumers and such are listed as well. And so Trinity says 18.7. Well, it's almost, 1.5 kilowatt hours, so almost 2 kilowatt hours more than the Tesla shows. But roughly speaking, you can get a general idea of what you're consuming. So you can also assume for yourselves that the consumption is a bit higher than what your car is showing you. On this graph, you can also see my degradation. What definitely stands out is that the degradation happened quickly at first, or significantly faster. And now, for quite a while actually, it's hardly changed. even gone down a bit. So the battery is stabilized, but it's also common knowledge that batteries lose a bit relatively quickly in the first few thousand kilometers, let's say the first 20,000 kilometers. But then a plateau forms, and then the aging of the battery and the deterioration of the cell condition, the cell chemistry, ultimately decreases more slowly. And you can see that very clearly here on the graph. Compared to other Tronity members, I have slightly lower degradation. And as for the range, you can see the same thing here. The battery once had somewhere around 475 to 480 kilometers of range, according to Tronity. And now we're at about 455 kilometers. But here too, similar to the battery degradation graph, the range hasn't decreased for me in quite a while, but has now leveled off at a good level. Overall, almost 20 kilometers less than when it was new, now after nearly 40,000 kilometers with the battery. But I'm actually relatively satisfied, especially because I see that the aging process or the deterioration is no longer happening so quickly, but is staying very stable. So I think that it will still take a very long time before I'm anywhere beyond 10% degradation or something, where you'd really noticeably say, yeah, the battery's clearly not going as far now. But what I do notice is when I, for example, visit family in Darmstadt. In the beginning, when the car was new, at least in the summer with a relaxed driving style, I made it back home without charging. That was really 480 kilometers of highway if you drove very leisurely in nice weather. I can't quite manage that anymore. I'm really missing those nearly 20 kilometers. That definitely has to be said. I had to chuckle at the last video when we covered the last long distance with the MG4. I should my smoothie there, my daily breakfast, so to speak. Or, well, almost daily. So there's rarely ever a skip day where we actually miss the smoothie. It's crazy how many comments there were about it and how many people apparently love to join the discussion and have given nutrition tips and so on. I always call it my green poison because I'm often asked, what's in there because it's so green? Well, today it's not even that green, depending on how much spirulina you add. I have, if you're interested, a whole lot of vegetables, a little bit of fruit and collagen powder. There's eggs in there, ginger, especially, and also spirulina. Flaxseed oil for the plant-based omega-3 content. There were also many suggestions like, hey, take omega-3 fish oil capsules and such. I do that too. I also take magnesium, and there are a few other things that I supplement. And collagen, people were saying, well, why take collagen? Just use protein powder. I'm aware of that too, and I do that as well. Definitely after working out, especially a sore. Or if I don't quite hit my protein requirement. But collagen is very important because we hardly eat bones or cartilage anymore and so on. And it just contains many essential amino acids that are important for our joints, bones, skin, nails, and hair. And those aren't present in that amount in whey powder, in pure protein powder. And that's why, in my opinion, you should definitely take collagen more or less regularly. Of course, there's also oatmeal and so on in there. So I really put everything in there that I need. So that includes complex carbohydrates, and so on and so forth. But where am I heading today? I'm driving to the notary in Schweinfurt today. The reason is that I'm transferring my final share of my originally founded e-commerce company to the other owners today. I built up an e-commerce company 18 years ago. Maybe I should start from the beginning. I originally studied health management. And on the way to my Master of Arts in Health Management, I had subjects like nutrition and fitness training. Among other things, I got my nutrition coach certification along the way. I got my fitness trainer license, personal trainer license, and so on. But during my studies, I actually found a lot of joy in selling things over the internet. Back then, eBay was like, well, the most important market. Then Amazon came along. And so it developed bit by bit. My own online shop and many other marketplaces, channels, sales channels, and so on. Nowadays, the topic of drop shipping and such is a very big deal. Many people advertise that you can get rich very easily, but it's a very difficult business, and above all, I just eventually got tired of the business, and I didn't really feel like doing anymore, and said, I want to change something. And then I looked for a way to somehow get out of my own company, and actually found investors who took over the firm. I still had shares in the company until just now, or as of today, but after the notary appointment on the drive home later, I won't anymore. Now you might know where that bit of expertise in the field of nutrition comes from. Yeah, it's just always been a passion of mine. And you still live it out somehow, even though I never really gained a foothold in that industry again. Then I ran my e-commerce business for many years. And in recent years, I've only been doing it part-time because I wanted to step back. And that's how the YouTube thing started. Originally, I started with a finance channel, Smart to Finance. Some of you might know it too. I haven't published many videos on that channel lately, but I wanted to share my knowledge about entrepreneurship. And then at some point, the topic of Tesla came up, and I enjoyed it so much that I became more and more interested in e-mobility, Tesla, and so on. And then I started the Tesla channel. Or by now, it's not even a Tesla channel anymore, but really a channel for e-mobility, car reviews, renewable energy, and so on. So, as you can see, I'm passionate about many topics, but I'm really happy now that I have even more time for YouTube, so I can attend events more often, travel places, because I'm simply not needed at home in the other company anymore. And accordingly, I can produce a lot more cool content. Hopefully testing many more different cars for you, getting around more, providing more reports from various trade fairs and so on. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But that's enough about that for now. Let's keep driving. You see, it's completely dirty. The windshield is dirty, everything is dirty, and the weather is really not nice. Oh, it's even -1 degree now, as you can see. It's actually gotten colder. And I'll definitely check back in once I've arrived. Then we'll have the consumption from the way there. And then we'll see how it does on the way back. So I've arrived in Schweinfurt now. Let's take a look at the consumption. 22.6 kilowatt hours, 110 kilometers. It took me a bit over an hour, but with about a 5 to 10 minute break. I drove at about 120 to 125 kilometers per hour most of the time, and 80 or 100 in between when I couldn't go faster due to construction or speed limits. I'd say, unfortunately, Tesla doesn't show it, but the average speed was around 105 to 110 kilometers per hour. First, I'm heading to the notary, and then I'll check in on the drive home. All right, everyone, it's all done. The notary appointment is over. Now it's official. From now on, I'm a full-time YouTuber. I'm looking forward to what's ahead. Really good, really good. So I'm heading home now. We're taking the same way back via the A70 and then the A73 home. So exactly the same route. It's 112 kilometers, about 110 of which will be pure highway. I'll be right on the highway in a moment. I'm going to reset trip A now, so it's back to 0. And let's see what the consumption will be on the way home. 0 degrees outside temperature. And afterwards, there'll be a summary of the range and consumption. So I'm almost home now. Just 3.7 kilometers until I'm home. We can end the navigation here now and then take a look at the consumption. We've got just 18.2 kilowatt hours on the way back. And it also tells us that since the last charge, which is basically the whole trip from home and back, half there and half back, the average is 19.5. If I calculate that myself, which we can do. We had 20.5 on the way there, and now we have 18.2, or 18.3. Let's say 18.3. That's 38.8 divided by 2, which is 19.4. So that's what I calculate for the Roger. And it tells us right here 19.4 or 19.5 since the last charge, as you can see, right? So it fits, the display at the top is correct, and the one at the bottom matches. I started with 80% battery. It was at 79 exactly, where I'm stopping again now. So the battery went from 79 down to 16. We can calculate that right now to see if it's correct. 79 minus 16 is 63% of battery capacity that I lost for the trip. 63%. With a 75 kilowatt hour net battery, that's 47.25 kilowatt hours in total. 47.25. But Tesla says 43.8 cents charging. So you can already tell that there's a bit of a discrepancy. Tesla is always a bit, let's say, prone to sugarcoating the values. But 47 kilowatt hours is what we actually consumed in reality for 225 kilometers. And at 47 kilowatt hours, that would be a consumption of 21 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. It tells us, 19 and a half. So here too, you can see that Tronity isn't entirely wrong, with about 2 kilowatt hours more consumption than what Tesla displays. What's important is, what does the Tesla do at temperatures around freezing? Right now, it's 2 degrees plus. Earlier, it was -1 degree at times, -2 degrees, depending on where we were. What kind of realistic range does the Tesla still have on the highway in winter? And that would be with an assumed consumption of 19.5. That would be 385 kilometers of pure highway range. And I'm actually still very, very satisfied, I must say. And I wouldn't say that it's noticeably less now. Stop! But of course it was noticeably less. I was probably still thinking about my notary appointment and naturally completely forgot to include the battery degradation. And that's actually what this video was about. So the attentive ones among you have probably already noticed. Of course, I can't calculate with 75 kilowatt hours of net capacity, but only with 95.7% of that. So my state of health is no longer 100%, but about 95.7%. And that would mean the battery still has a capacity, a usable net capacity, of 71.78 kilowatt hours. And no longer 75 kilowatt hours, and that results in a calculated range of ultimately only 349 kilometers on a highway, instead of those nearly 380. Or, yeah, sure, Tesla sugarcoats the values a bit too, so it'd be 370 kilometers. But even here, it's at least 20 kilometers less, if not actually nearly 30 kilometers less than when it was new. I calculated it as follows. I drove down 63% of the battery, for about 220 kilometers of range, which means for every 1% of battery, that's 3.492 kilometers we can drive. If you extrapolate that to 100%, that makes exactly 349 kilometers that the car can still manage, and no longer roughly 370 to 380 that it managed when it was new. On the highway in this weather at this speed? If you liked the video, then I'd be very happy about a thumbs up. And if you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any more videos here in the future. And also remember the greenhouse gas quota, because it has actually increased. Right now, with my link, you get 285 euros as a new customer at guildforeauto.de. Just take a photo of your vehicle registration and wait for the money. So really perfect. You should definitely use it. As I said, down in the video description, you'll also find more discount coupons as always. For example, also here for my carbon fiber dashboard console. You can also get a discount of over 20% right now, and a TL Yard. All that's in the video description too. Then hopefully I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching and for being here. I'm looking forward to the future with you. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. This video was brought to you by Yuma. At Yuma, you can get balcony power plants and storage systems in excellent quality with German support from the German online shop and with my discount link. From the video description, you'll get 30 euros off your next order.